Hey everyone, welcome to my new tutorial. Today we are going to create this low poly castle tower, and I really hope you will enjoy this one. And if you do, please don't forget to leave that like, and if you're new around here, hit that subscribe. Now let's jump right into Blender. And first of all, let me just select the light and the cube, press X and delete, and we'll start with the tower shape. So let's press Shift A, we'll add mesh and circle, and let's reduce the number of vertices to something like 12 because we want to keep this really low poly and simple. Now tap into the edit mode and we'll press E then Z and extrude this up, and let's make the shape a little bit stylized and funky. So press S and scale it up a little bit. Now press Shift D to duplicate and S to scale this up, and we'll create the roof shape like this. Now let's press 1 for front view, press E then Z and extrude this up, and let's press S and scale it inside like this. And now press Ctrl R and create a loop cut here in the middle and slide this down tiny bit, and then press S and scale it inside so we have this nice stylized shape, and press Ctrl B to bevel, and let's create the bevel like this. And you can increase number of cuts with the mouse wheel to really get this kind of shape like this. And we'll mostly use this as a guide because right now I want to separate the part of this geometry and just duplicate it around. So press 3 for face select this face right here, press Shift D to duplicate, right click to release in place, and now press P and separate selection. You will see that it's separated into a new object. So tab out, select the new object, and now tab back in. And first of all, let's rotate this a little bit. So press 7 on the numpad for top view, and now tab out for a while, press R and 15 to rotate this 15 degrees, and press minus to go to the opposite direction. And let's confirm by pressing enter, and now press Ctrl A and apply the rotation. And now let's tab into the edit mode, press 2 for edge select this one right here, press 1 for front view and extrude this a little bit just like that. And now press Ctrl R and create a cut here in the middle, right click to release in place. And now press 1 for vertex select these two vertices and press G twice to slide them back a little bit so we get this nice roof shingle shape. And now press A to select all and Alt E and extrude faces along normals and extrude this up just like this. If you're just starting Blender and you have trouble following all the tutorials, be sure to check out my courses as well, where in addition to step-by-step instructions, you also get full in-depth explanation of all the tools and all the steps, and you get to learn everything from simple low poly design all the way to full character illustration, textured environments, even a little bit of sculpting and hard surface modeling. So if you're interested, please check out the link in the description. And now let's press 1 for front view again, and let's press S, scale it down a little bit so we adjust the shape, and press R to rotate tiny bit like this. Okay, so that's a nice base for a roof shingle. So now we'll just rotate this all around. And now in Blender you can chain some of the commands, so just repeat this really carefully so you don't interrupt this chain of commands in any way. So first we'll press Shift D, then immediately R and Z. So we duplicate it, rotate it around Z-axis, now enter 30 to rotate 30 degrees and press enter. And before you click or touch anything, let's just press Shift R and you can just repeat the whole chain of command to create a circular array like this without actually using the array modifier. So now let's press 1 for front view and we'll select the roof and the shingles right here, but I will now hold Ctrl and deselect the shape I don't want. Now hold Shift and click one of the shingles to make sure it's highlighted in yellow, and right click and set origin to geometry. That'll move the origins for each shingle to their middle. And now press Shift D and Z to move this up, and we'll press S to scale it down, and we'll follow the guide like this. And now we can tab into the edit mode with all of these selected. Let's enable X-ray view and we can select all of these vertices on top, press G then Z and move them up a little bit like this. Now tab out and let's press Shift D again, press Z, move it up, and again we'll scale. Let's disable the X-ray view so we better see how it overlaps. And now again I will tab into the edit mode, press G then Z and move this up so we follow the shape there, and we can press S to scale this down a little bit maybe. Okay, now tab out and press Shift D again. And again, we'll scale this inside, tab into the edit mode and move these up and scale them inside. And probably one more row. So let's tab out, Shift D, Z, and move it right here. And with these still selected, press G and move this up and scale it inside. Okay, now tab out and let's select all of these right here. Hold Shift, select these as well. And now again, hold Control and deselect the main shape. So this is what you should have selected. And now we'll press R then Z and rotate 15 degrees. So they're interlaced basically. The reason why I didn't create these as link duplicates, because I will merge them into a single object anyway. So let's just select all, again, Control and deselect this shape, hold Shift, select one of them and press Ctrl J to join them into a single object, because now I want to do some variations here. So tab into the edit mode, press 3 for face select, and now we can select these by holding Shift and press Alt S and extrude them, move them out, and do this basically all around where you see fit to, you know, create some variation so it doesn't look all the same and we get some nice exaggerated proportions here and there. And when you're satisfied with this, you can continue the modifications by moving some of these up and down by pressing Alt S, or basically the whole shingle. You can make it thicker or thinner, whatever works for your design and for what you want to achieve. Just look at it as a whole and see if there's some adjustments needed. And when something looks too uniform, you can always go back and adjust the shape. So that's for the roof. And now let's press Shift A and we'll add a circle. Let's press G then Z, move this up, tab into the edit mode, and we'll scale it down and create kind of a, you know, roof cap or something like that. So let's press 1 for vertex select, press E then Z to extrude, S to scale, and again E then Z, and S to scale inside, and then E then Z again, and S to scale, and F to fill. So I think this will be enough for the tower. So let's create some windows. I will tab into the edit mode for the main object, press 2 for edge select, select this one, hold Shift S and snap cursor to select it, and now tab out. So we can now create a new object right there where we need it. So let's press Shift A and we'll add a plane. Now tab into the edit mode, press R, then X and 90 degrees to rotate 90. Let's confirm. And now press S to scale this down, and S then Z to scale on a Z axis as well. We can make it a little bit larger. Press 1 for vertex select. Select these two vertices and press Ctrl Shift V to create the bevel. And now we can press C to clamp so they don't go over. And now let's increase number of cuts with the mouse wheel to something like this. And now let's enable X-ray view. Let's select these top vertices, press S then Z and just scale it up like this. And now before we move the one in the middle, there are two of those. So let's press A and press M and merge by distance. And now we can select it, press G then Z and move this up a little bit so it's a little bit sharper. Now let's tab out, disable the X-ray view, and let's press Shift D to duplicate this. Tab into the edit mode, press A and E to extrude this. And now press A and Shift N to recalculate normals, and press G then Y and move it inside. I want to create a boolean cut right there, so tab out. And before I do, let's make sure you have the boolean add-on. So in the add-ons, I have the bool tool add-on here. You can just search for bool. If you don't have it there, just go to get extensions, search for it, and you will see the install button right there. Just click it. And now if you hold Shift, select the main object and press Ctrl and minus on a numpad, the bool tool will create the cut. And now we can select the original plane, press G then Y and move it inside. So we have this nice cutout for the window right there. So now tab into the edit mode, press A and I to inset. Let's create an inset like this. Okay, let's press P to separate and confirm with enter. And now before we extrude this, first of all, let's move it towards the front a little bit. So press G then Y, move it here. we can separate these edges. So press 2 for edge select, hold shift and select these, leave out the middle one, and press V to rip this apart. And now press A and extrude like this. Now let's look from the side here by pressing 3 on a numpad, and we can press Ctrl Alt Shift and S to shear this like that. And now you can press 3 for face select, select these individual faces, and since we separated those edges, these can be moved as separate faces like this. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do right here, and just move them outside a little bit. And then if you want, you can also scale them up. So you can select these faces, press Alt S and just scale them outside a little bit to create a little bit of the variation. So it looks like they're, you know, slabs of stone right there. Yeah, something like this. Now we can tab out, select this one, the leftover, press G then Y and just move it closer towards the front. And now let's hold shift, select all of this with the boolean cut object as last, press Ctrl P and parent to object. So now we are able to move the whole thing with just this. And now let's hold shift S, snap cursor to world origin, and let's switch the pivot point to 3D cursor. So now again we'll select the plane, the frame and the window cutout, press Alt D, R, Z and 90 to rotate 90 degrees. We'll confirm, and let's press Shift R twice to duplicate this all around. And now basically we can just select these cutout objects, these new ones, hold Shift, select the tower and press Ctrl and minus on a numpad again to create these cutouts, and you have the windows all around your tower basically. Now let's finish the bottom of the tower. So we can just select the object, tab into the edit mode, press 2 for edge select, alt click this loop. Let's press G then Z, move this up a little bit, then press E and Z and extrude on Z axis a little bit down like this. And now let's do this again. Okay. And now press 3 for face select, alt click this loop, and let's press Alt E and extrude along normals. Like this. Let's press 2 for edge select, alt click this loop, we don't need that, so press X and delete those vertices. And now alt click this loop, press G then Z and move it down. And now we can create some variation here as well. So you can just select these and move them along, up and down. That's why I extruded this little part so it's not slanted there, so we can just easily move it up or down. Okay, something like that. And now we can tab out, let's press Shift A and we can add a circle. Let's modify to something like, I don't know, something like 6 should be enough. And let's tab into the edit mode, scale it up. Let's tab out, let's look from the front and press G then Z and move this down right here. Now tab back in, press F to fill, and let's look from the top by pressing 7 on a numpad, press 1 for vertex select, and just move some of these vertices around so we create a little bit more irregular shape like this. And now press A, extrude this down, press S to scale it up a little bit, and then again, and scale it inside. And now underneath I want some rocks, so let's switch the pivot point back to median and press Shift D and S to scale this down, and then E to extrude and S to scale up like this. And now we can add some more variation. You can just tab out, let's press Shift A, and we can add a circle again with 6 sides. That's okay. And let's look from the top and we can move it somewhere here by pressing G. And now tab into the edit mode, and again we'll move some of these around so it's like more natural shape. And now let's press A to select all of the vertices, press E then Z and move this up, then S to scale it down like this, and then F to fill. And now we'll just move this around and snap it to create illusion of a rock formations basically. So let's tab out, let's look from the side, we'll move it here and we'll press G then Shift Z to move it closer here. We can also make it wider and basically just like this duplicate it. I may sometimes scale it on a Z axis. You can also rotate it. Basically whatever will help you to make this look a little bit more detailed and intricate as a rock formation. And now finally you can go in, tap into the edit mode, select some of the vertices and press Ctrl Shift B to bevel them, reduce the number of cuts to only one, so you get to create these. And this will basically allow you to add like more details to the rock. And of course here you can, for example, slice this with Ctrl R and then create a bevel by pressing Ctrl Shift B and then Ctrl T to triangulate, and you get this like a damage to the rock that will again add more details to it. So yeah, just be creative, move some of these around, create new ones. Now finally let's add a new plane. Let's move it down here and scale it up so that will be our background. Let's look from the camera, and now we can press N for the side panel, and in the view settings enable camera to view, and now we're able to move with our viewport controls to position the camera like this. Okay, and let me modify the resolution to something like 1600 to 1200 because this is too wide. Okay, something like this. And maybe we can make this larger. Don't forget to disable the camera to view so you're able to move freely. And now let's just go ahead and in the render settings enable cycles, GPU, and I'll enable denoising and GPU for the render denoising, and something like 512 samples will be okay. Now I'll press Ctrl B to limit the preview only to camera bounce, and let's press Shift A and add a light, sunlight. Press G then Z, move it up, and then R to rotate. And now if you hold Z and preview the rendered view, you get something like this. Now of course this light is a little bit too weak, so let's increase to something like 2 maybe, and then rotate around the Z axis to position the shadows in a way that makes sense for the shape. Something like this looks fine. And what I like to do next is to add some backlight. So let's press Shift A, let's add area light, press G then Z, move it up, let's make it larger, and let's make it really strong, like 1500. Press G then Z and move it back here, and we can of course rotate it so we cannot just flood the scene with the light in the back, and it creates this nice rim light and it brings out the details. So now if you select the background, let's add a new material, and let's do something like blue maybe, and we can increase the roughness. And for the rocks we can do something almost gray, something like this with a hint of a warm tone. And now let's tap into the edit mode, let's select one of these vertices, press L to select linked, create a new material slot, new material, and assign. That will help you to add new material to the same object. You can tab out now and just recolor it to something like green. And of course I want to add more roughness, maybe make this a little bit darker. Okay, and I will add the same rock material to this one. And for the tower I want to do like a warm bright material like this. Same for the windows, and here we can create an emission shader. Let's do something like 5 or maybe even more, so we have a lot of light there. And let's add some warmth, and for the roof of course something either yellow or orange, something like this with a little bit of roughness as well. And yeah, here basically this can go like a gray or something. So yeah, that's the simple tower. Now let's play with the lighting a little bit more. I think this can be a little bit stronger, something like 3000, and let's make it really warm like that. And in the world settings, let's increase the world color and let's make it blue, so you will see how it nicely fills those shadows there. And for the sunlight, I think something like 3 might work a little bit better, and with some warmth as well. So this doesn't look so great as its own, but if you now go ahead and maybe do a larger environment like this, and maybe do more towers, or you know, some castle walls or something like that, like I did in my previous time-lapse video that you can find on my channel, you will get much nicer results when you have more objects in the scene and actually more reflections and, you know, more surfaces that can reflect the lights, because as a standalone object like this you might have a little bit of a trouble presenting it. But all in all, I really like this. So finally, in the render settings, you can always go to color management, maybe increase the contrast a little bit, and then play with exposure. Maybe high contrast is a little bit too much, so medium high, like this. Okay, that works nicely. And maybe this background can go a little bit darker, and let's duplicate this and make this stronger in the back with some different color for the background, and maybe even stronger. And if there's too much of a shadow in the front, you can always try to balance it out by adding, you know, a little bit of a light from the side here, maybe not so strong, and you will see how this will create new reflections and kind of give your shape more definition from the side there. So yeah, that was the quick low poly modeling exercise for today. I really hope you enjoyed this. And again, if you did, please leave that like, and if you want to learn more, hit that subscribe. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.